Rusty the dog has recently visited the Victorian era and noticed that it was a time of amazing inventions, building new creations, and of lots of shopping. Some people had lots of money and were able to buy many things to dress up in fancy ways and decorate their homes with lots of ornaments to show off to other people. But there were also lots of people who didn't have much money at all and had to be very resourceful to make sure they had enough clothes and could have a home that was comfortable and looked nice. The Victorians could be very clever indeed. People who didn't have much money were very good at making the most of what they did have, and they often did something that we like to call repurposing or even upcycling today. This is when you take something that is old and either not needed anymore, or maybe has become broken and can't be used anymore, and you make it into something new. There were even people that collected old rags, scraps and rubbish, called rag and bone men. If you lived in the Victorian era and didn't have much money, then you would have tried hard not to waste anything, and this included clothing and fabric. Every bit of scrap fabric, rags and old clothes could be reused to make what we call a rag rug, also sometimes called a hooky or proddy rug. People have been making rag rugs for at least 150 years, but probably much longer. In this video you can see the basic technique used to create a simple rag rug. To make a rag rug, you first of all need lots of fabric scraps. If you like to sew or do other fabric crafts, then you could collect your offcuts over time, or you could cut up an old item of clothing that is damaged or no longer needed. You need strips of fabric that are around 1 to 3 centimeters in width and 5 to 15 centimeters in length. They don't have to be exact and they don't have to be a particular type of fabric. Just make the most of what you have available. Once you have lots and lots of short strips of fabric, you need to attach them to a base. Traditionally, this rug base would have been made from hessian or sacking, the material that used to make things like flour sacks, as it is strong and threads are not woven tightly together, which means that you can poke holes in it. If you can get hold of a sack or empty sandbag or something similar, then that is ideal. Otherwise you can use any fabric that is reasonably thick and strong, but still thin enough to poke a hole through. Here we have used an old sandbag, opened out and stretched over a tapestry frame, but this isn't essential. You attach your fabric strips to your base by poking them through with a proddy. This proddy is made from a wooden branch that has been cut to a blunt point at one end, but you can use anything that is similarly pointy. Strips can also be hooked through using a latch hook tool or a crochet hook in a similar way. Take your strips of fabric and poke or hook them through. The best way is to poke them through twice so that both ends are on the same side and of equal length. Some people like to then knot these ends together, but others like to leave them loose. Do whichever you prefer. Poke lots of strips through the base to build up the fluffy side of the rug, either to make a picture or an abstract design that you can draw on the base first, or just in a random pattern. The closer together you space the fabric strips, the thicker the final rug will feel. Once you have built up your rug thickness with lots of fabric strips and finished off any loose edges of the base if needed, you will have a finished rug. It is thought that a new rug might have been made each year or so to replace the rug in the room that was coziest. This rug would then replace the one in somewhere like the kitchen, which would then replace the one by the back door, which was thrown away. This would mean that rag rugs would slowly move through the house until they were eventually too worn out to be used anymore. This means that very few old rag rugs survive nowadays. They are becoming more popular again, as we try to think of ways to be less wasteful, make better use of the things we have in order to help the planet. If you would like to join in with more of Rusty's adventures or find out about Western Museum's learning programme for schools and community groups, head to the Western Museum website at www.westernmuseum.org.